Hello, humans. We're a little late, but we're getting there. We're starting up. It's been a week of some weird and wacky shit that kept me up late. There were existential crises. At least one existential crisis, I would say. I think there were appropriate numbers of existential crises for the things that happened this weekend. It's hello, Leslie. I'm glad people are commenting. I'm glad we're seeing humans filling into the. So, anyways, it's been a weird week. We're gonna hello, Christine in Florida. I'm glad things are. I'm glad whoever's out there in Florida. I'm glad you're staying relatively non-COVIDed. We're gonna get to the COVID in a minute, but we have to. I'm gonna wait while people file in a little. Come on, babies. Come on in. It's you guys, as you guys remember, I have back my friend, Dr. Z Tang Wang. Thank you for first of all being here, but second for looking through my genome with me this week. How did it feel to be in me? I mean, in my DNA.
I gotta be honest, when you first told me about it, I definitely spent quite a few hours that night fantasizing about sticking my swab in your mouth.
Oh, baby. That's the first I have. It's quick interruption. Mom has entered the chat. Excellent timing for my mom to hear a friend that is thousands of miles away with whom this is. Yeah, it's a joke. It's a joke. No one tell our partners. Anyways, moving on. So this is an interesting morality tale of accident of the fact that data can be misleading initially. Data can be misleading on second, third, and fifth look, and sometimes you need you always need what's the word I'm looking for? A blank. You need something to compare your data to figure out if your data is a control. That is exactly the word I'm looking. Thank you. I need a real scientist with me. I need a scientist who's still working in the lab with me. So anyways, a couple days ago, I'm glad you guys are coming for this thing. So a couple days ago, and this all started with just seeing Richard Dawkins had said a thing on a radio interview, and of course, he said it. He's Richard Dawkins, so he said a thing. I also just because I wanted to spread good cheer. I hope you guys like my ugly Christmas sweater. Anyways, but so anyways, Richard Dawkins went on a little tear saying he'd never call a woman with an someone with an XY karyotype a woman as a biologist, because yeah, he said that. And anyways, I like in the comments, like someone, people are being, are replying to it. Most people are saying, oh, for fuck's sakes, Dawkins. And one person replied, the only woman I know who's ever gotten her chromosomes karyotypes turned out to be XY. I'm like, I wonder if I can get that information off my ancestry data. So I downloaded it ages before to upload it to another couple of ancestry sites, but I hadn't looked at any of the health stuff. So I uploaded it to Genetic Genie, and I uploaded it over to Prometheus. And they're two fairly reputable sites. They do anyways. And I thought running it through at least two sites to see if the things it had would confirm up. So anyways, I put it into Genetic Genie, and one of the first things, by the time I'm putting it in there, I'm like, oh man, hemochromatosis. I should get that looked into. I'm a pile of genetic failure. Like, okay, I'm on my mom's side, I'm Acadian. On my dad's side, we're gonna have a little fun before we get into the holy shit factor. I want to ease you into this a little bit. Like on my mom's side, I'm Acadian. On dad's side, I'm Jewish. And Acadians, very small population that only banged other Acadians for a while. Our rare disease is hurlers, and some people are carriers of hurlers. Jews, as you might have heard, were carriers for a disease called Tay-Sachs, and these are just childhood diseases that you pass two hurlers or two Tay-Sachs carriers get together. Those kids don't live. Anyways, I'm a carrier for both hurlers and Tay-Sachs, and I feel like I might be the only one on the planet. Like that could be a thing. Anyways, but I'm just, I should not make babies. Anyways, but I'm scrolling through and I'm looking at the rare mutations. I'm looking at, and I get to a page called Other Mutations, and one that flashes with two alleles. And is the thing that stands out about it is it's my SRY gene. It has the mutation to be an XY female on it. And the thing about having a mutation on your SRY gene in order to be an XY female is that means you would have to have a Y chromosome, which I was previously unaware that what? Like, then that threw me. And then now here's the thing, and this is where it gets oh shit. Or not oh shit, but like where it seemed to confirm it. I went to look at my Prometheus data, and there was a mutation on my CBX2 gene, which is on the 17th chromosome, and which can also indicate that it's an XY woman with fully formed ovaries, because normally when typically XY women don't tend to form ovaries. It's kind of they're called street gonads. They tend to form tumors later in life. Like they have issues, and so I'm like, wait, I've always had, I developed normally. Like normally, a lot of times with XY women, they'll need hormones, or they'll need hormones to be supplemented in order to go through puberty. I developed normally, so I'm like, okay, I have this other mutation too. I guess this makes sense. But I was going to sit there and torture the data until it fucking talked, because this hit me out of the blue. This was crazy. It was just like, are you fucking kidding me? It was all kind of a lot to be hit by that, especially. And one of the other things that made me go was about this saying, you have a Y chromosome, is that I have a trans brother. And it's like, it would have seemed weird that I have a Y, and I get it. Like, it's, there's only one gene on this thing that controls whether or not you've developed testes or not. And it's like, there are many different ways you can build a woman, but it's like, that's a thing that sits there and screws with you when you have a test telling you that you have like a flip of 3 nucleotides, and that's the entire reason that your egg and sperm made this happen. And that'll fuck with you. You'll stay up late looking up how this data happened. And it's Alan just asked, just what are we on about? I'm torturing the hell out of all of my ancestry data to figure out why it told me that I had a Y chromosome. That is what we were talking about. So anyways, it looked weird that I had this thing saying I had a mutation on my SRY gene that's normally on the Y chromosome. So of course I talked to my friend Z, who is a geneticist, and at first we had because we're scientists, and when things go wrong, we're like, let's look at this. This is awesome, because weird things are fun in science. We get to poke at it a little, but we're not like, I'm not tied to an answer on this, because I just want to know what's true, because I need to know. It's like, hey, have I been taking birth control pills for the last 20 years without needing to, because these things were duds? Like, I was annoyed about that. I also wanted to know if I was allowed to start mansplaining and like peeing standing up. Like, that would have been great. But anyways, so see, what were your thoughts when you first saw this pile of
Well, when you first contacted me and you were like, hey, how wrong can genetic screening be? And I'm like, well, you can get false positives, and it's not 100% reliable. And then you told me exactly what mutations and SNPs you had, and I went, oh, what the fuck? Like, straight up, like, what the hell? Like, I told people in my lab about it. Like, I was thinking about it. All the SNPs, all the mutations, that the specific mutations you had that Prometheus and the other site came up with. Like, I went looking into them. I went to SNP databases and looked for papers documenting effects of these mutations. And
I emailed the professor that wrote that paper too, and now I have to email her saying, sorry, I got your hopes up.
Right, right.
She was so excited too.
Right, right. So for a bit of context about developmental biology of sex, SRY stands for sex determining region Y, and it is a gene located on the Y chromosome, which is basically, it's a master switch for male pattern development during embryo development. If SRY does its thing, then the gonads develop male. Absent, like, assuming everything else downstream also works fine and comes out, completely, like 99.9% of the world. And if SRY is absent because you don't have a Y chromosome, then the default pathway is female development. So for Yvette to have a SNP in SRY, SNP, by the way, single nucleotide polymorphism, just a technical word for having a single base mutation at a particular spot in your chromosome. So the fact that SNPs showed up for SRY was very, very concerning, because you can misread a base pair. You can misread a letter of DNA. It happens all the time. And that's really, not a big deal. Generally, you read a chunk of DNA 5, 6, 10 times, and you take the average read that comes out. But with the kind of gene sequencing that we do with microarrays, with these like genome screens, that doesn't always wind up happening. So anyway, like a misread would be one thing, but the fact that there was a read at all for the SRY gene, that was really concerning, because like reading something wrong is one thing. Like you can misread a passage in a book.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a book and the sentence from the book comes out,
right?
That's an entirely different level of problem. Like it's the difference between mistaking one word for another versus like looking at a blank sheet of paper and quoting Genesis.
Yeah, like, and looking at the data, because I don't know enough of this as deeply as you, obviously, I'm looking at it going, it seems like, and I looked around online and I'm like, all right, what can I get from poking through the forums? And some people had said there was like phantom DNA, or as I'm calling it, ghosts in the machine, that came out on the Y segment for women. And that was one thing I'm like, okay, that's a possibility. But like, because and this is something that we only figured out after like going into the text file, because what they do is they send you this big text file. And I'd already looked at it before I talked to you. And there were two kind of conflicting bits of information that I kept finding online. One is that sometimes women get some Y data in their profile, and I had some Y data, obviously, but I don't know how much a typical person gets. And Ancestry said on their website that that they don't give as much Y data as they do for other chromosomes. They give a limited amount, and it's partially because they do. I believe it's because they do targeted Y testing for people. So I didn't know if the fact that I had a lot of non-reads on my SNPs for the Y chromosome were by design, or because I had ghosts in the machine. So it's like, Z, have a look at this, please.
Right. So that one thing was very concerning and weird. And the other thing that was weird too was that I think it was Prometheus or the other one came out that you were homozygous for a mutation in CDX2. And, every single person has at least hundreds of thousands of unique mutations that are unique to them.
Yeah.
Single nucleotide polymorphisms happen every 100 to every 1,000 or so bases across the entire 3 billion bases of the human genome. And what these genetic screens do is they pick out the most well-documented variants in the various places in the genome, and they create a micro array of different probes to interrogate all these different specific spots. And when you get the raw data, those spots are what come out. So they won't pick up any unique variants that are unique to you, but they can look at all of the different places that people are well documented to naturally vary and give you data back on those. And then certain variants are associated with living in this place versus that place. Certain variants are associated with this mutation, that mutation, etc. So the fact that you have a SNP, and even the fact that you have a specific mutation, doesn't necessarily mean that you have that disease, that you have that condition, etc. Yeah. And genetics is really fucking complicated. It's not like there are very, very few things for which we can say, oh, this is the gene for that. The fact that we know a lot of genes where this gene causes that and this gene causes that is because those are the easiest ones to find. It's like searching for your keys underneath the streetlight because that's where the light is. And the way that genetics interacts and the way that genes interact with each other and with the environment and with development, it's less an architect's blueprint and more a cake recipe. Like
I like that.
your genes are the cake mix, and there's a whole bunch of complicated shit that happens beyond the mix itself to
It's like
grow and
the oven might be broke. You might have a broken oven.
Yeah, you might have a broken oven.
You might have a neglectful baker.
Right, the air temperature might be different. You might have alcohol fumes in the oven that causes.
The chickens for the eggs might have had a bad diet. Okay, things
Right.
might have gotten wrong.
So the fact that you have specific SNPs.
I just really quickly want to interrupt because I want to address one comment over in the chat. Someone said that you people are starving for attention, and I just want to respond to that by saying yes. Yes, we are. Thank you for giving it to us. I love all of your attention. Please become one of my patrons. Anyways, I just wanted to thank you for all of your attention. You gave me exactly what I wanted in trying to make fun of me. Thank you. I love you. Anyway, carry on, Z.
Yeah. So the fact that you have specific mutations for specific things doesn't mean that you necessarily have it, or that you should worry about it. There's a couple of mutations, for example, the BRCA mutations, where we are pretty damn sure that people with these specific mutations have a vastly, vastly increased risk of specific types of breast cancer, to the point where, like, if you're homozygous for certain SNPs, people recommend like double mastectomies because you're probably gonna get cancer. I think Angelina Jolie was someone who like recently had that done because she had the BRCA mutations.
Double mastectomy, I believe. Yep.
Right. But like on the whole, most mutant variants are they're just variants. They're just noise. They're just copying errors, and they don't really do much. But the fact that you had reads for SRY, and the fact that you're homozygous for a mutation in CDX2, which causes XY sex reversal, like those two things together,
it was a lot. It was a lot. It was quite a bit to wrap our heads around, because like getting all of that a lot was like, the other thing is, like I said, my brother is trans, and it was like it made me sit there thinking, what is gender anyway? Like, that was the big question, because it's like because I've heard people say, what is gender anyway? And of course, my stodgy old, I grew up in New England, like I'm get off my lawn brain is like, like, even though like I'm on board, like whatever gender you identify as, I completely support you and honor that. Like, my brain went to, and it's still kind of, working with these questions, what the fuck is gender anyway? If it's just, if literally it just would have taken those facts, those chromosomal changes could have been true and are true for someone, and someone could find out easily at age 37 that those things were true for themselves.
Absolutely.
And it's like those things are still kind of bouncing through my head of, what the fuck is gender?
Yeah, I'm not a sociologist. I'm a biologist. I can talk about genes and genetics and the plumbing that people have, but gender is just a little bit more than that, and it's a whole. There's layers of cultural and personal complexity on top of all that mess. But getting back to the SRY gene mutation and the CDX2, those two things together definitely screamed, this should be looked into farther.
I mean, I'm still just like getting further genetic testing for other things, and we were like, just in case, could you just make sure I have 2 X's? Just double check.
Right. That was absolutely the first thing to look into.
Oh yeah.
We found a 2009 case study published by some doctors, which Yvette emailed. And we're going to have to email again.
Contacted her. She's really excited about my chromosomal abnormalities that I don't have.
Oh, dang. We misread the data.
Here's, at least I said in my email, I'm like, we still have to confirm this, but it seems likely. So the fact that we found out 2 days later just by, opening text files, but that's But anyways, you were saying this whatchamacallit, about this case file, this case study.
The case file. It was a 2009 case. It was a baby that was karyotyped as XY, expected to be a boy, came out a girl, like girl parts. What the fuck? So they looked into it, analyzed the genome, and found a homozygous mutation in CDX2, the exact same one that Yvette has, two copies.
Yeah, I just copied the article over to the comment section. So or not the scientific article, but the article in New Scientist on the article. But yeah, it was, I found that one and it was like, oh, I guess that's a thing that can happen. We still need to see if my ovaries are ovaries or not. But yeah, I guess I was, like I said, I was really annoyed for 5 minutes that it seems like I maybe had taken 20 years worth of birth control pills for nothing.
Right. And there are lots of different kinds of intersex conditions. Yeah. So the SRY gene, for example, that is the master switch for male development. But if you have mutations in downstream pathways, you can get partial development, you can get gonads, and you can get genitals that are indeterminate or like hybrid of the two, or simply fail to form.
And you were telling me about this tribe that people appear female until about 12 and then develop develop male anatomy, and generally they kind of decide whether they want to identify as male or female.
That's right. Yeah. This tribe in, I think, the Dominican Republic, 1 in 80 girls, when they hit puberty, grow penises and turn into men. And unlike most intersex mutations, what's really interesting about this is that these people who were born looking female and then literally grow a dick, some of them are fertile and they can have children of their own. And what's going on is really interesting because,
I want to know what Richard Dawkins would say to that. I want to know. That also brings up in my head, would I have been so quick to have not accepted, because I obviously didn't accept it right away when I saw the data about me, but would I have jumped on that so much if I hadn't been looking for it from us hearing those comments from Dawkins? Mm-hmm. Like, was this all an exercise in biased reasoning?
It was certainly a interesting result. Yeah. Screamed out for further analysis.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah. Right. These people in this tribe, they have a mutation. They're like, the people of this tribe are enriched for this mutation in a gene called 5-alpha reductase, which is present in the androgen pathway of testosterones and other, male sex related hormones. And because of their reduced function of 5-alpha reductase, during embryonic development, they don't get enough of the gene product. And so the male development doesn't get switched on. Everything goes the default pathway and comes out female. And then instead of ovaries, they have testes where ovaries should be. And then when puberty hits and their testes start dumping out huge amounts of testosterone, the massive influx of testosterone overcomes the reduced efficacy of the gene, and the product does start getting made to a significant amount, and that development just kicks in and completes, and the clit grows into a penis, and
that's so cool.
Right?
Like, I'm just saying, like, wouldn't it just being in a society where they accept that, hey, you might grow a penis, don't just like, this is, I think this turns, like, whenever you hear somebody, and it's always someone on the far right that's like, these parents are ruining they're coming after Western civilization by raising their kids genderless. This actually happens some places, because who knows what's going to happen?
Right.
They're gonna sprout a dick. It might happen.
Yeah. Oh, she's a girl for now. And imagine a world where this is normal. That just goes to show how cultural gender is. You have the biology of your pipes and your plumbing and all the different ways it can go wrong and fuck up and give you something either totally different or in between. But then culturally, the fact that this just happens to be normal for this group of people and they deal with it perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Means that so much of what we consider inherent to this gender or that how much of that is cultural?
Yeah, and it's
You
like
know?
there were things I was wondering, like, if, like, because no matter what, because I'm me and I have a big mouth and I have this platform and this is a biological thing, I would have ended up discussing this if it had turned out to be true here anyway. And I think that there are people like the Dawkinses of the world that they would have gone one of two ways. They would have either one stuck to their guns and started calling me a dude, in which case I would have been like, I am mansplaining the shit out of everything to you and demanding 20% more pay. Other or they would have gone in the direction of saying, that's not what we meant, you're the okay type of Y chromosome, like. And it would have been interesting to see what corner they would have boxed themselves
Right.
into on that, like.
Right.
And because, like, and the reason that like, I grabbed someone's comment earlier, and someone said there were in certain tribes there were six genders.
Mhm.
There actually are six, or at least six common different variants on just X and Y. It's like between just X and no other chromosome in Turner syndrome. Like,
Mhm.
we all know it's like it's. If I went down the list, I'm probably going to mix up the different
Yeah.
variations of it. But I know there's
XO,
XXY.
Turner syndrome, triple X, I think is Klinefelter's. There's
Yeah,
XYY.
I've
There's
seen one that's like triple Y and an X, which I was surprised by.
that has to be ultra,
Yeah.
ultra, ultra rare.
Yeah, it's like that's it can happen apparently, but no,
Absolutely. And
there are.
you can have people who are chromosomally XX who don't know and are seem perfectly like men until they get karyotyped.
Yeah.
The SRY gene is on the Y chromosome, but chromosomal recombination happens. Stuff crosses over. DNA gets broken off of one place and shoved onto another place all the time. Like, you know how Down syndrome is a trisomy 21,
Yeah.
a triple dose of chromosome 21, and how, like, it's the most common chromosomal abnormality? It's not the most common chromosomal abnormality because there's something special about chromosome 21 that makes it duplicate so much. It's common because trisomy 21 is just one of the chromosomal abnormalities that is most survivable to birth and adulthood.
Oh.
When you have 23 pairs of chromosomes and they're pretty much identical, they're almost entirely identical all throughout, up and down, with small base pair changes here and there. And during meiosis, the chromosomes recombine between the two chromosomes that you have. Like, you have an X from your mom and you have like a chromosome 17 from your mom and a chromosome 17 from your dad. Your chromosome 17 from your mom and dad just fucking swap spit all over the place during meiosis as you're making sperm or eggs. And then your sperm or your eggs get one single copy, which is either majority your mom or majority your dad, but there are pieces of the other one in there. And so sometimes it happens that one chromosome gets completely shoved and appended onto another. Sometimes a huge chunk of a chromosome just gets lost and deleted. Sometimes two copies of the same chromosome go into the same sperm or egg. And it's something like 50% of sperm or egg are chromosomally normal. But yeah, it's a really, really, really low efficiency process.
The fact that any of us get made and manage to be okay enough to pass on any of our junk to the next generation is kind of amazing.
Right,
Like,
right. It's just every kind of chromosomal abnormality you can imagine happens all the damn time. It's just generally when they happen, you get a fertilized egg that craps out and dies at some point, usually way before the woman even knows that she's pregnant.
Wait, are you saying that every ejaculation is not a gift from God?
Yeah, every ejaculation's not a gift from God.
I've had a few embarrassing ones for sure. Oh,
and
man.
you gotta actually get lucky to get a non-fucked up egg and a non-fucked up sperm together, and then manage to combine those chromosomes together sensibly. Like, the reason that trisomy 21 is so survivable and normal and people can live to adulthood and live full and happy lives is that chromosome 21 is one of the smallest of the autosomal chromosomes. There's not as much shit on there as there is on all of the other chromosomes. So if you get a triple dose of it, but there's very little there to begin with, then the impact is smaller than it would be with any other chromosome.
Are there other major, because I know obviously we've discussed Turner syndrome a little bit, are there other major chromosomal abnormalities that we're kind of familiar with that we see?
Yeah. You can get you can get, for example, XX men, and what happens there is that you get a chromosomal translocation. The SRY gene from the Y chromosome migrates and sticks itself somewhere else, either on the X chromosome, which is where it usually goes when it happens, or it can go onto one of the autosomal chromosomes. And like, if you have an SRY gene that just hijacked a ride on another chromosome, then you can have no Y chromosomes. You can have two X's, and one of your X chromosomes has the SRY gene. You'd never know you weren't male.
Yeah, it's while I was looking and trying to figure out my stuff, the number of men that I came across saying, "Yep, I turned out I had two X's. Thanks, Ancestry."
It's more common than you think, and especially with these kind of genome sequencing services, this is something that I didn't know that a lot of men were finding out that they were XX. That's actually really cool.
Women are people are finding out a lot of things that are like people are finding out their dad's not their dad. People are finding out many things via Ancestry. That's amusing. It's one of our commenters, HJK, just commented, "Oh my God, I'm amazed that I even exist." So you're making people grateful for life even in this pandemic, Z. That is your superpower right now.
Right. I already opened too many browser tabs from this conversation.
Eugene, don't worry. This will be available to watch later, and this is why I like to have Z on, because he's someone who is heavily educated in an area that I am not, and could explain it all very well.
Right. So back to your genetic data, Yvette.
Oh dear.
So we started digging into it because I looked. Because you sent me the paper from 2009 with the CDX2 mutation, and I took your genome data and shoved it through the same databases and got the same results. And so, at one point, both of us were like,
I'm like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Pretty darn." And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay." So I felt like, okay, at least I wasn't crazy and I was interpreting these two websites correctly.
Right.
Oh.
I mean, like, as far as I could tell, it seemed like you had a Y chromosome with a mutant SRY and also a mutant CDX2. And that was really freaking cool. So you sent me your raw data file, and I have it actually up here.
We can show this. You guys want to get in me? By which I mean into my DNA. Oh yeah, we can.
Let's get into Yvette.
You guys can see my DNA. Oh yeah, we're gonna do this. We're going all the way in.
Right.
Onto the screen with this, and I'm going to make us tiny. Spotlight to that.
So this is the raw data file that comes out of a Ancestry.com or a 23andMe. It is the result of a DNA microarray. And what a DNA microarray is it is a tiny chip which contains specific probes for the hundreds of thousands of commonly known variant spots across the human genome. This is the raw data. Yes, indeed. This is Yvette's raw genetic data.
Y'all are up in there raw with me. Oh, yeah. Baby. Somebody just said it.
We're in Yvette raw.
Somebody suggested this should be on OnlyFans. I also have a picture of a bone scan of me if you want to get, if you guys want to bone me. Oh yeah.
Right. So let's take a look at what we got here. Up here, a whole bunch of comments from the specific website that it came from, Ancestry.com here. And then here's the meat of the data. So RSID is the ID of the particular SNP, the particular polymorphism. They're either RS number, or a couple of these are I number. Yeah, these RSIDs are unique IDs for unique places in the genome where polymorphisms have been documented. So here we see all these are polymorphisms on chromosome 1. Position, this is the position in the 3 billion bases of the human genome where this mutation is. So this particular mutation, RS369202065, is located at position about 570,000 on human chromosome 1. And here Yvette has a G on one chromosome and a G on the other. Good, 2 copies of chromosome 1, they're both Gs. This data doesn't have what the most common variant is. You'd have to go to internet databases for that. But, you go through it. Here's chromosome 1, chromosome 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, blah, 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 blah.
And they all mostly have letters next to the.
And they all mostly have letters, A, T,
Yes.
C, or G, adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine, the 4 letters of DNA. And then we get to chromosome 22, the last of the autosomal chromosomes. And then we get into the sex chromosomes. And here's where things get strange.
And 23 is the X chromosome that we know is the X chromosome, and that one has what we expect. It has letters. It has our base pairs that we expect, right?
Right. But here's an interesting thing. So we get into chromosome 23, and each SNP has 2 letters.
Yes.
So this seems to indicate that what we have going on is 2 copies of chromosome 23. Because if we pull up my data for comparison, let's all get inside me for a second, slightly less sexy.
So hot.
Oh, maybe just as sexy.
Oh.
Get to here, we look at my X chromosome data, 1 single letter for each one of these polymorphisms.
Oh.
So, see, I have 1 copy on my X. And also it took us a while to figure out because Yvette's data goes 1 to 26, and my data goes 1 to 22, and then it goes X, and then it goes Y, and then it goes MT. So I have 25 categories, and she has 26. So that took a little while to figure out what was going on there.
And it's because on Ancestry they split the Y data into basically the part that pairs with the X chromosome, the part that doesn't. So
right, my X has 1. Her X's have 2. If we look at her data for chromosome 24, the Y chromosome, I hate these data files.
Oh yeah, it's you go like you blink and you miss.
Yeah, blink and you miss it. Yeah. So here's Yvette's chromosome 24 data. Oh look, over here. Here's 1 spot on chromosome 24 on her Y chromosome where she's an AC. But oh look, there's zeros. Pretty much everywhere. Oh, here's another spot.
I mean, I went in and I located the exact one that was my alleged SRY, but yeah, a lot of zeros in there.
A lot of zeros in there.
Lots of zeros.
So what happens in a microarray is that you have these probes that are able to detect specific sequences of DNA, and if that DNA exists, a fluorescent tag can light it up, and then a camera picks up that little dot of fluorescence on a chip. So it's like a little chip that has like glowing spots all over the place, and each of those glowing spots is in a specific location for a specific type of probe, and the camera takes all that data and parses it out. And of course, if you have a camera that's detecting light, doesn't matter how well you code it, you're going to get false positives here and there. And unfortunately, even though Yvette had the particular SNPs associated with sex reversal, if we look across her Y chromosome,
I don't have a Y chromosome.
Yeah, she doesn't really have a Y chromosome. 99.9% of everything that should be there on a Y chromosome is empty, and then there's like 0.1% something of little dots of false positive data. But that took quite a while to sort out. And I had never looked at, whole genome microarray data like this before, so I wound up learning a whole bunch of stuff myself about how this data is parsed.
Yep. So this was a learning process for both of us. It was I was literally up late a couple nights just being like, over this. Cause that'll like, even if you look at it and go like, cause the number of times I've kind of given this little chat ski here and said, there are lots of different, it's totally normal. Like a lot of, a lot of women have a Y chromosome. And the second you read it on your own data, it throws you. There's no way it can't, because it starts at, it brings up a lot of different questions. And it was a hard couple of days, and it still has left me with a lot of questions that I don't think I'm going to have any answers to, because they're more philosophical than anything.
One of the things that really intrigued me is that you were telling me that you were telling like friends and family about this preliminary result, and people were asking you how you identify now.
Yeah, that was happening very, very quickly. Like I told like just a few people were like, so are you like, and I had one person that was very quick to declare me intersex. I'm like, I believe like I didn't like I'm like I didn't think that was right to throw me into that community 2 days in before we had any confirmation. Like I'm like I wasn't an aggrieved minority. That didn't seem appropriate. But like it's like I had a couple like not enough people were like I hadn't told many people because it was, it was 2 days into it. I was still not sure of the results because obviously, and I wanted to find out. But like, it was interesting that a couple people were, that people wanted to know, so how do you, has this changed it? I'm like, no. It's like, I'm still a girl. Like, that's how it's always, I was socialized as a woman. I present as a woman. No one's ever mistaken me for anything other than, like, do you guys think I'm suddenly going to have, or it's that I'll suddenly have an identity crisis about if I'm a woman or not because of the presence of a Y chromosome? That would be very strange. Like,
how crazy is it? Like, this is just proof about how cultural gender is. Like, you wake up one day and you get a result that says you have a Y chromosome, and you don't feel any different. Like, having that piece of paper in your hand doesn't change anything about the entirety of your life, but yet it completely changes how everyone sees you, to the point that like you're getting these questions.
It made me worry that, because I was, like I said, planning on talking about it. It made me worry that there would be some douche bros out there that were going to be like, "You're a dude," and like I said, I was just going to demand to like how there are guys that are like, "Yeah, a trans woman can't go into a women's locker room." I'm like, so if you're going to lump me in with trans women, does that mean I get to go into the guys' locker room and stare? Because I'm going in with a camera. I'm going to enjoy this. This is going to be fun. I'm so like.
You're going to be an XY person creeping on women in the women's bathroom. Oh, no.
So send me into the boys' room. Tempt me with a good time. I was so mad that I was kind of mad that I didn't have a Y chromosome, because I'm like, oh, my male privilege. I had it for 2 days. Right? 2 days. I was on top of the world. No more.
Yeah, your patriarchy membership card, unfortunately, your application has been denied.
Oh, I'm so like the number of things I was planning on doing with this. Like, it was, I had talks I was planning on giving to talk about my Y chromosome. Like, this was going to be great. I was totally going to pawn Richard Dawkins with this. And then we had to look carefully at the data, unlike Richard Dawkins, and took my Y chromosome away. So
who was it that said extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence?
Oh shit, dog.
Was that Sagan?
Was that it's one of these guys. I might have been Hitchens. I don't know. No, I feel like that's was it someone in the comments tell us which one of them it was. So, but yeah, that was Sagan. Good.
Sagan.
But yeah, we tortured the evidence until it talked, and it was like, nah, you got a pair of X. Everything else about your chromosomes are fucked, but you got 2 X's.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was such a ridiculously, audaciously huge and cool idea, and we had really good evidence for it according to the snips that came out. But
it looked like it was. It looked so there too, didn't it? It was just.
It really did. It looked so there.
But this is going to save me a lot of money, and well, I'm probably going to have to get my genetics tested, because apparently I've got hemochromatosis, And
Oh.
I've been looking through a lot of it, and like it looks like I have macular, or I'm gonna eventually end up with age-related macular degeneration. Like there were a few things with my eyes in there that I'm not too surprised by, because
Mhm.
my grandmother was blind at one point in her life, so I'm like, oh, my eyes are gonna go. I don't know if the hemochromatosis one is real or not, but I should get it. Then here's the thing with all of this, as you said earlier, having the genetic having like a gene ping on that doesn't mean you have it. It means go to genetic counseling.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing now. I've put the test down. I've made an appointment with a genetic counselor at my hospital, and I'm backed away. And that's kind of like, that's the thing to do with this, is if you see anything that scares you, don't do what I did and spend 2 nights up late panic. Like it's better that way. Trust me. Like
I
it's,
remember,
yeah.
back when I was convinced that you were an XY female, I was telling you to get karyotyped.
It's funny. It's just 2 days.
Um, yeah. Well, you mean I certainly wanted to believe it too. Like
Yeah.
I was telling you, okay, get karyotyped.
Well, it
Get
makes
yourself
sense.
swished out on a slide, take a picture, and then like count the chromosomes.
Yeah. It's just, I'm really glad that we compared it to a control and just made that very clear that it was,
Yeah, it definitely became very obvious when I pulled up my data and looked at it side by side.
yeah, that made the whole, like the urgency of it just, it just took it deflated that balloon very quickly.
Yeah,
Like
right? You
I
said you had like 48 hours that you couldn't breathe.
Oh yeah,
Basically.
like it's let's see, Courtney Ryder just asked, for you panicking or fascinated? Both. Like I don't know if it's possible to panic about something that, like, you can't change, you can't, like, it's not urgent. The thing I was panicking about the most, I think, because I'm in the process of, this is very personal, but you guys were just in my DNA, so I'll talk about this. I'm in the process of getting my tubes tied. I'm 37. I don't want kids. Now that I've seen my DNA, I really shouldn't have kids. And like the first thing I did was call my gynecologist, and I'm like, I might have ascended testicles instead of ovaries. I don't know what's going on with my junk. I don't know if I even need my tubes. I don't know if I can make a baby. So like it was a lot of, oh fuck, what's happening with, like, that was my biggest thing, was I need to know what's happening with my health. Like it was less panic about what my chromosomes are, and I need to know because of my health. Like, and the other thing was, I'm like, oh man, if I can't get pregnant, it's gonna save me some fucking time at the hospital. That'll be neat. Like I needed to know. And it's like like I said, the other thing that threw me was, and I know I'm a broken record, it was weird to see the Y chromosome right after, looking it up because of a thing Dawkins said about not calling XY karyotype women. And like just knowing that my brother was trans, I'm like, how is it all seems like, I'm like, I would have felt, part of me was like, man, that's one other thing I can hold over my brother's head that he doesn't have, Y chromosome. It was funny, but no, it was all very like, it was a weird few days of the fact that of reminding you that you have to look at the data really fucking carefully and not panic when you first see it, and wait for an expert, a real one, to
Have
look
to
at
know
it.
what you're looking for too. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was looking at when you sent me your
Yeah.
genetics.
Well, it's like
Like,
there was a reason I wanted to, like, I knew there was some, like I said, I looked at all those zeros and I'm like, this is one of two things. One, it's not a real Y chromosome, or two, they only give you limited data because they want you to buy their Y services. And someone else had to look at it to figure that one out for me. So I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you were willing to whip out your Y chromosome data for me.
well, when you come to me, when you message me out of the blue and say, "Hey, I might have a Y chromosome,"
Yeah, that is
it
that is
lights
it's
a bit of a fire under my ass.
It's the number. It was funny because we were sitting up in my attic smoking a joint, as we do, with one of my housemates, and like every so often, while like we'd be chit chatting about, like, conversation would ebb and flow, and like whenever conversation had like stopped for a second, I'm like, I have a Y chromosome. I have a Y chromosome. It was just yeah, it's been, so it's been a few days. It's been, what, the one good thing about it, and I think we've chewed, as like, we'll probably end up chatting. This will come up again over the next little bit, but man, it's been it's it was a good distraction for a few days from the hell that is all around us. Because you know what I didn't think about for 2 days? The pandemic. I didn't think about it at all. Not even a little bit. And now guess what I'm thinking about again? The pandemic. How are things going out? Because you're in the St. Louis area, yes?
Yeah, I'm in Missouri.
Yeah.
And this week, so we get at Washington University, we get a weekly email with the stats of how many people we have admitted and under treatment for COVID, like number of people admitted who are confirmed positive, as well as the number of people who are pending. Back in like March, April, like at the peak of the first wave, that number was creeping up past like 100 something just at our hospital alone. And then it dropped down to like 50s, 60s, at one point, like, low 40s. This week, 145. It is the most number of people we have ever had getting treated for COVID. A couple weeks ago, basically everyone, all the nurses and doctors got voluntold, hey, we're reassigning everyone. And you guys are going to start doing COVID shifts. And if you don't like it, you can quit. Like, we don't care if you're a fucking podiatrist. You're a COVID doctor now. You're a COVID nurse now.
We taught you how to
leukemia. You're a COVID.
You all know how to intubate, right? You can intubate. Get over here. There are 6 things you need to do with this. You need to put some tubes into both ends. It's about it. Oh God, it's terrifying. But yeah, in LA right now, I've mentioned once or twice or 17,000 times that I have a large number of housemates here. We recently got a new housemate. And as happens with men in their 60s-ish, sometimes they just don't listen to shit. So our new housemate just went to Palm Springs overnight. He's like, just for one night. And I'm like,
oh no.
And luckily, now here's the thing. We have the main house. It's a big old Victorian mansion, which is, there are a bunch of those in LA. And he lives in the carriage house, the little, house out back of the house. And I'm like, when you get back from Palm Springs, you're wearing a mask in the main house, buddy. Like, we're not counting the case. Like, I know that they're counting them in terms of the thousands or whatever that are being diagnosed out here daily. But like, there are 100, less than 100 adult ICU beds left in LA and less than 500 hospital beds as a whole left in LA, or all of, never mind LA city, LA County. And there are 10 million people here. This is terrifying. Like, this is the worst time to fuck with this out here. Like, I know that I don't even understand how it's Russell just said, what the fuck, put a bullwhip on the wish list. It's like, look, I feel I keep on I know I just need to go on Amazon and buy some batteries for this, but like I haven't gotten a chance. There have been no parties on my street, so I haven't gotten a chance to go out and yell at people with this. I'm so looking forward to it though. I really am. But
a 6-foot bullwhip.
I feel a bullet might be fun. No, it's like there are just houses on my street still having parties. Having parties. But
same here in Missouri and same across the country. The whole fucking nation is a COVID super spreader hotspot right now.
It's in North Dakota. It's at this point.
1 in 800 North Dakotans have died of COVID.
So far.
So far.
Oh my God. It's there 1 in 800 and it's more than 1 in 10 has gotten sick. It's just, this is just going to get worse. 10%
of the way to herd immunity the hard way. Except that apparently natural immunity doesn't last very long, because we have many, many, many reports of people who have infections and get reinfected 8 months later.
I'm curious how many that actually is, because it's like we hear reports about it, but like what percentage is that? And that's what it's how many people notice when they get a cold a second time, if there's a particular, endemic, not so harmful cold that just they happen to get a second time. We don't notice it.
Yeah. One of the major problems with that is that you're right. We have no idea how common this is. And, the media, thrives and survives on attention, and rare events garner attention. So it's a natural consequence of news media that rare and exceptional things appear to be much more common than they are.
So we
I
hear
don't know
about
what the statistics are about COVID reinfections. I'm not sure those statistics
no,
exist. I hope they do
no,
somewhere.
well, they don't. I'm gonna guess they don't yet, partially because we don't know how many people get a second asymptomatic infection, that kind
Right.
of thing. And we probably won't know for a good long time.
You're right.
Like,
Like, how can we even count that?
yeah, I mean, well, there was a study that I read because I was looking into asymptomatic diseases as a whole because I was just getting so tired of people being like, there are so many asymptomatic cases, you'll be fine. I'm like, you were twice as likely to get an asymptomatic case of polio as you are of COVID, which is why I'm like, I don't think people understand asymptomatic cases, period. So I was looking into the other coronaviruses that are, the deadly ones. So,
Mhm.
SARS, the original, quite
Yep.
a, I, I,
SARS-CoV-1.
I believe 15 to 20% asymptomatic cases, even MERS that had a relatively high number of fatalities to it. We just didn't see because people were so busy paying attention to the deadly cases, there were absolutely asymptomatic cases of that one too. So it's just I'm gonna guess that left people able to get it again. Who knows? But we're probably not
Absolutely.
gonna we're probably just never gonna know with that one.
On the plus side, with the SARS-CoV-1 pandemic and the MERS pandemic, because of the media attention and like huge like public outcry and like public health intervention that happened when those pandemics went live, back when we had a functional federal government who could respond appropriately to pandemics and
Functional
travel and contact trace and all that, because of all that work when those pandemics were blowing up, all that preliminary work gave us a really, really great head start on making a vaccine for COVID-19, for
Yeah.
SARS-CoV-2.
It's
Yeah, the vaccines that we have now are built off the backs of the work that was done, 5-10 years ago, against those other coronaviruses.
so
And they seem to work pretty goddamn well because,
right.
turns out we've gotten pretty good at making vaccines
Yeah.
and viruses.
It's
We've done it a lot.
Yeah, it's like this one, the fact that they're coming out over 90% effective, like they're more effective than the smallpox and mumps vaccines, at least from our data so
Mhm.
far, which is pretty impressive. Hold on a second. I have a cat knocking a thing over, which is just like whenever you see me reaching in there's an animal doing it's just part of the part of the part and parcel here.
Yeah,
So
no, it's a comment. Charles Marshall, let's overreact and cure the common cold.
it's
I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately, because
yeah.
we can, we can design a vaccine against a specific virus pretty easily. The common cold is what we call infection from a huge number of different viruses that are low key,
About
like
200.
poke at our immune system a little bit.
Give
There's
or
just
take.
too many of them. We don't know what
It's
all they are.
it's give or take 200 viruses last time I checked. It's probably it's a lot of viruses. Like there was one thing I wanted to ask because from you mentioning that whatchamacallit, this vaccine went back to the research we did on the original on SARS the first. This is I live in Hollywood. It's sequels here, but a lot of people they're not complaint, but their hesitation is based on the fact that they think this has been under researched. It's not been around long enough. What could you say to help bring someone to the table and maybe make them less hesitant about these vaccines?
Well, it's true that we don't have long-term data on the efficacy. It's true that we have no idea how long resistance is going to last, but it's also true that getting COVID is a hell of a lot worse in the long term.
Yeah, there's nobody getting lung damage from the vaccine.
Right. Nobody is losing muscle mass and wasting away and like dealing with strokes and blood clots for years and for like months and months and months down the line.
Yeah.
And as far as long-term efficacy goes, vaccines like these generally tend to last pretty long. Natural immunity is kind of a crapshoot. because who knows what part of the virus your body's immune system picks up and creates defenses against. Your body takes the virus, chops it up, grabs random bits of it, and goes, let's make something that sticks to this. And it just rolls the fucking dice and like juggles around various bits of DNA and tries and tries and tries and tries until they make something that sticks to whatever random bit of virus it grabbed. And then that's the antibody.
I'm picturing how that ramble would be animated by the animators of Rick and Morty. I'm picturing that with that whole ramble with the background of Rick and Morty characters in the
kind of a Plumbus kind of thing.
Yeah, right. I could see it. I like it.
You chop it up into random bits, and then you shake up another container of random bits, and you put the one random bit into the other random bit, the one that sticks, and that's your antibodies. It's
basically all of biochem is just fitting a round peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
Just your body trying to make sure.
Like with the antibodies that we have, what we can do is we can, take someone's blood, take out their antibody-producing cells, figure out the sequence of those antibodies, and produce that specific antibody, and then test that specific antibody against the virus. Some antibodies stick to non-essential regions of the virus. Some antibodies stick to essential regions. Some antibodies stick to essential regions of the virus so well that not only does the antibody tag the virus for destruction by the immune system, it also blocks the virus from being able to function by gumming up the virus's active site and preventing it from being able to invade cells. So these are the kind of antibodies that we have because we take all the crapshoot stuff that various infected mice and humans and so on have created, and we test them and we look at where on the virus it sticks. And we pick the ones that stick to the virus in a way that not only tags it and identifies it, but also uniquely targets the critical regions that the virus needs to do its thing. And that's a hell of a lot better than having your immune system roll the dice and see what it comes up with.
Yeah, it's one of the things I keep hearing as a question is people are asking, do we know the long-term effects? Is this going to hurt my immune system? Like they're basically asking about the kinds of things that are rumored to happen from like that anti-vaxxers claim vaccines do. Is this going to happen from the... You're not going to get neurological or immunological long-term things from this. It's not going to cause autoimmune diseases. All of these things are rumors that have been attached to vaccines by anti-vaxxers and have never happened from a vaccine anyway. So
yeah, it's misinformation and crap, unfortunately.
But if you want to get out of line, I'll take your vaccine. I know people who want to get in line now. I don't know if I got the vaccine or the placebo, but I'll take your vaccine. I'll do it. But yeah, I'm terrified that too many Americans are going to skip it. But at the same time, it's like if only 40% of people want to get it and 60% of people want their nightmare to continue, we're only at maybe 15% of the country immune at this point, or not immune, having gotten infected at this point, and that's like a high estimate, I believe. Some people are in for a lot of pain if they
honestly, we have a vaccine, and we don't know the long-term effects, but vaccines like this don't tend to cripple huge amounts of people for the rest of their lives. That's just not a thing that happens.
No,
and the fact that people say that this is a thing that happens is straight up false. It's straight up misinformation. So we have a vaccine that we know works. It's been tested in tens of thousands of people, and you look at 20,000 people who have the vaccine and 20,000 people who have the placebo. You follow them for a few months. Out of the 40,000 people, like 150 something got COVID, and 140 out of those 150 are people who got the placebo.
And not a single one
got a severe case. That's a pretty damn good, case for it.
And it's as much like if it had been a more even split, if a lot of people had gotten COVID who'd gotten the vaccine, if more people had gotten serious COVID, there'd be a case to go, it doesn't really do much, but yeah, it does something, obviously, because they told
Yeah,
people to go out and live your lives.
right.
They
You
did,
know?
and these were random assortments. Nobody knew if they got the vaccine or not,
Mhm.
and it's like I still don't know if I got it or not, and part of me is like, maybe, but I had no reaction. So who
Some
knows?
people have no reaction. Some people get
Exactly.
muscle soreness for a few days. Some people
Yeah.
get a low-grade fever.
Yeah.
Um, because it's how a vaccine works. You need to provide something for your body to recognize and make antibodies against, and you also need to provide an adjuvant. And an adjuvant is the component of the vaccine that triggers your immune system and tricks your body into thinking that it's getting attacked by a terrible, horrible pathogen.
I
And
think
when your
there's
body receives that signal, it does the things which it does, which is, inflammation, fever, ramping up the immune system, attacking whatever it is that came in, cutting it up, chopping it into pieces, and creating antibodies against the pieces, and then keeping those antibodies around in case it ever runs into it again. So, the inert components of the vaccine are supposed to, trigger a little bit of cruddy feeling and get your immune system up and active. It's like a fire drill, essentially, for your
I,
body.
I apologize for the constant yawning. I don't know what happened. My brain just suddenly said, you haven't had caffeine today, and or you haven't slept enough. It's almost like I had a long week.
Sometimes when blood runs through your caffeine veins, things get a little crashy.
Who would do something like that to me? Who allowed this? Who allowed this travesty? Yeah, we will keep rambling for a few more minutes, guys. But I feel the crashings coming over me, and it's not nice. This is not okay. I did not give this. My dog is. I don't know if you guys can hear the buddy, but he's being vocal right now. Buddy, I did
There's
not.
the barks.
He's allowed to have, for being that tiny, like he's just all sound and smell. It's very, very just like it's somehow like he has all the volume of a large dog just contained into that one little thing. Like it's just all smell and volume. That's all I got. But buddy, what?
There's a question from Claire Mansfield.
Oh,
I
yes.
don't math on a daily basis. Can you speak to how protected we'll be after vaccination if only, say, 50% of folks get vaccinated? I know effectiveness is, say, average 90%, but will that level of herd protection increase our protection a bit, or is it still too low? Well, really, you don't need a lot of math knowledge to appreciate that. Yeah, if you have if you have 90% of people immune,
Yeah.
then the disease really has nowhere to go. But if you have 50% of people immune, the disease is still going to have a 50% harder time traveling from person to person. If you have 40% of people immune, it's going to have a harder time. Any amount of immunity in the population helps.
Yeah.
And any amount of immunity is going to reduce the chance that any particular person catches it through whatever line of transmission may exist.
Basically, herd immunity just means you have fewer vectors that are able to pass the disease from one person to the next. So generally, it's depending on the disease, it's at least 70%. Some me saying diseases is apparently difficult today. I believe with measles, it's 90%. I'm not sure where they've said the threshold is for this. I want to say they said the minimum was 70 to 80, but we need more than 50. And the thing is, you can still kind of control your environment to the point. Obviously, the virus can still enter your body even if you're vaccinated. It won't develop into the disease. So you will catch the SARS-CoV-2 virus. It will not develop into COVID-19, the symptoms, the disease, the symptomatic thing. But if you have it in your system, that means you can also breathe it on someone. So mask up, only try to hang out with people who not right now. Don't stay home. Don't see any other humans. But after the vaccine's out, try to wait to hang out with people who have also been vaccinated.
Yeah.
Think globally, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So
people who are immune won't be as effective of vectors for the virus, but also exactly social distancing, reducing the amount of close personal contact also reduces the spread of virus. It's not hard, and it's not politics, it's physics and reality. And
you mean to tell me germ theory isn't political, Z?
Germ theory, yeah, funny how germ theory became political this year, right?
Are you sure you're not part of the deep state?
Oh my God! Just
Bill
the amount,
Barr has joined the deep state. Fox News has joined the deep state.
The amount of loons that I have seen being like, how come all these people in the GOP in the White House are getting COVID? It must be some kind of bio attack. Suspicious? No, you motherfuckers. One political party turned it into a political shibboleth, like a political marker to not wear masks and to not social distance. And then that political party winds up continuing to have super spreader events and continuing to pass the virus on amongst themselves. This is not a conspiracy. This is physics and germ theory.
Yeah, you mean
what happens?
It's like, you mean to tell me that the people that didn't follow any of the medical advice got all of the sick? What?
Yeah.
This has to. Who's the it's truly the reptilians are responsible. Bring me the people who did this.
And threw it on my house, and now my house is on
fire? Get me the arsonist.
Right?
Jesus.
This, there's one thing that really kind of ticks me off, which is that, a lot of people are like, oh, we can't take the economic impact, open the businesses. I mean, tanking the economic impact is supposed to be something that a functional government is supposed to help people with.
Functional.
Right. There's something a lot of people say, which is like, don't social distance, don't mask up. The sooner that everybody catches it, the sooner we reach herd immunity. And that's a really fucked up misunderstanding of herd immunity.
Yeah.
Herd immunity is like providing immunity to enough people that the virus can spread. If you get herd immunity the natural way, it's like getting herd immunity the natural way is like if your house is on fire and a firefighter comes by and says, oh, don't worry about it. Once the fire has burned down everything in your house that it can possibly burn down, it'll go out on its own. They're not wrong, but they're not a good firefighter if they say that.
Yeah, it's like the point of herd immunity is to stop you from getting the virus, not to get the virus so you can't get it again. And like I'm sure you likewise have a libertarian friend or two that has said some well-intentioned yet dreadfully wrong things, like let healthy people go out, protect the weak and the vulnerable, and let everyone who's healthy go. Yes, because you can so easily just separate out society because young people don't take care of the old people. That's how that works. Really? It's just not how that works.
What's a society? Do we live in that?
We live in a society. No, we don't. We live in a wasteland of people just going to war in this. I got to admit though, I'm pleasantly surprised that we did not go into an all-out civil war right after the election. Like, it could have been worse. Could have been far worse. Like it's bad that that's the point I'm at. It could have been worse.
4 seasons total landscaping. We didn't have a civil war. We had 4 seasons total landscaping.
And those goddamn heroes. Like, here's what I envision to happen. Like, it's a landscaping business that, at least to me, reads kind of like, it's someone's Republican dad owns that place. But the Democrat kid who's gone off to college is at home answering the phones. Like, and that's when the kid answered it and was like, what? You want to hire us? Oh yes, we're the 4 seasons. When do you want us, Mr. Giuliani? Not of course we have ample space for you. Like, that's how I picture that whole thing going down. And like the kid was just like, yeah, Dad, someone's gonna use our parking lot for a thing later. That's fine, right? Cool.
Right?
Like,
yes, I'm sure. Whatever, go ahead.
That is exactly my vision of it. And like, I think that's what I'm going with. I still think, let's see, Debbie Best just said, your buddy James Fell told us the Civil War wouldn't happen. I'm just saying I disagree with him on for a number of reasons, but then again, he's the historian. Maybe I should have James on again to discuss the history of to discuss
I
that.
don't think James is wrong about that. People are fairly comfortable. Civil wars and revolutions are bloody and messy, and things suck for a lot of people for a very, very long time.
When people will start a civil war is when they miss their first meal.
Mm-hmm.
So if things get really bad here, and I mean, we were beginning of the summer, remember when it was like, oh, fuck, we think there are going to be food shortages. Nobody can get a roll of toilet paper. Like if it gets to the point where there are shortages and people who have never faced hardship or hunger in their life legitimately cannot get food, that's when you'll see a civil war.
Yep.
Like, and if the fact that we have a vaccine already means that it might be averted.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, that's where things were heading.
I mean, we do have an informational civil war going on.
Yeah, very true. That's just depressing. That's not going to go away. But hey,
no, that is the monster that we have built when we built the internet. We were like, instantaneous access to all the world's information is going to make people smarter. No, it made people stupid faster.
I forget, I don't remember who said this, but it's a perfect description of the internet. The internet is the first thing that man made that he doesn't understand and cannot explain.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the best way I can describe the internet. We just don't know. We did a bad thing, but we can't undo it. It's kind of like the US financial system. We can't undo it. So
it is the way it is. And
Francisco just brought up Parler. Parler/Parlay. I'm amused by Parler, depending on who's calling it that. But let's call it Parlay. I'm amused by the Parlay crowd. Because I think on some level they have to know that nobody outside of them goes there, and that's why they rage quit Twitter at least twice a week to tell people, I'm leaving, come to Parlay.
I wouldn't go to Parler. I hear that they only serve white wine.
Oh my god, I think we should start just very stupid fake rumors that couldn't happen about a website. That should be.
I feel like there's no low that you could make that is so deliberately a parody that it couldn't be mistaken for real.
I found a hair in my soup at Parlay. just make up stupid rumors about Parlay. Like nothing that could be real. Just jab at it. Mm-hmm. Parlay didn't get me off. Left a condom in the toilet and then didn't call me back. That's what I'm going for about Parlay.
That might work, or it might be like peeing into a sewer, you know?
They are kind of they're bad at what they. I don't know what to make of them, because they seem to have popped up out of nowhere, and they're trying to be a thing, and I worry that there's dark money behind it. But while it's here, we get to make fun of it.
They got hacked. For all of their user login information,
and people had to get their social
security numbers.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
It turns out that security is not that good when you're like some GOP asshat with dark money, paying some skeezy programmer to whip up a quick social media website.
Oh,
yeah, they got hacked a while ago.
But hey, at least they have each other. They have do you know that instead of a retweet, when they do their version of a retweet, do you know what it's called?
What's it called?
An echo, because they're in an echo chamber.
Oh my god!
I don't even know what I don't know if they realized that when they called it that, but I'm like, oh, you're a cute little echo chamber. You made. No, but
that hack ended up being fake, and it made me sad. Okay, so it looks like that didn't happen.
I'm sorry. I'm all right. All right.
Thank you, chat.
I'm actually glad that they did not get hacked, because that means that things didn't happen to other people's data. But I'm mad because fuck Parler. So
Yeah.
there's this, Jesus Christ, like that's the fact. Do they really require people's social security numbers to get in a Jesus?
I think social security numbers are an optional thing that you can put in, which means that a lot of people put it in because there is no underestimating people on the internet.
Wow. That's just so. Here's a good observation from Ryan. Give it time; it'll be true. It's every website gets hacked eventually. It's gonna happen. People will get in there.
Use different passwords for each site. Don't reuse the same password. Don't reuse variants of the same password.
So don't do all the things I do. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much everyone does.
Yeah. So don't. Gotcha. Do people still use like the really common do people still put in password for a password?
There are probably sites out there which will still let you put in password for password.
Oh man.
Yeah, that still happens.
Right. I had one website turn down a robust password the other day. I'm like, I even have a symbol and 2 numbers. Oh.
XQCD had a thing about this recently, which is that through all these arcane password security laws, we have wound up forcing people into making passwords that are very hard for humans to remember and very easy for computers to guess.
Yep, and
special characters and stuff.
And now we all need
entropy
and we all need password managers. So basically, if somebody can hack into one of the programs that has all like a password manager company, we're all fucked.
Right.
So
I mean, suppose that you break into, say, like Twitter or Parler or something, and you get like a long list of user IDs and hashed versions of passwords. You might get 500,000 accounts in like a big ass text file and what their password is after you put it through a hash. You could take, all the common passwords out there, you could hash those, compare them, and you probably, some 10, 20, 30% of the passwords in that database are going to match to commonly used ones. There are like lists of frequently used passwords out there on the internet that you can compare against any hacked password database. Wow. And when you do that, then you've maybe cracked like 20% of everybody's password in there. And when you have their password on that site, you can take that and try their same account, their same email address on different sites. Like maybe you could try like password, suppose password 123 is a common password. So you check password 123 against all these 500,000 people. And oh, look, these 500 people light up and their password is password 123. So you check password Twitter 123. Oh, look, these 200 people, their password is password Twitter 123. I'm going to take their email, go to Google, and I'm going to try password Google 123. Oh, I'm in their Gmail now.
Someone just told me to stop making them yawn, and them say that makes me... Sorry, Tony. It just, mirror neuron reflexes. They're strong, man. Just
all the IT people are just furiously vibrating right now. I hope, Troy, that's because I've got these details right.
Yeah, it's just part of. Someone said, "Yep, it's called." Jillian said it's called credential stuffing. That's a lot of terrifying stuff, and I'm gonna change all of my passwords today. Oh my God, it's how many times have I just like annually changed the number? Like it's just a thing. Every once in a while, it's just all right. New number on the end of it. That'll totally dissuade the hackers from finding out what my
four random dictionary words strung together has more bits of entropy than 8 to 10 letters with special characters and numbers and stuff, and it's much easier to remember.
I don't have
the XKCD strip was like correct horse battery staple.
We have 4, and this is for our Wi-Fi at our house. I don't have this for my password for anything else, but if you're ever at my house and you need to use the Wi-Fi, the password is all is one sentence. It's hippies use side door. So Just wanted to let you go. If you need one for your password, there you go. There's a good one because everyone will remember that. So, but it's just the Wi-Fi. You can't hack into Scibabe with that. So don't try.
If you have an Amazon device, apparently Amazon's doing this thing now where they're taking people's Wi-Fi's and just opening it to the public. And if you walk by someone with an Amazon device and you have an Amazon device, your device can just automatically connect to their Wi-Fi as a public network.
But
Yeah. Your reaction is, I mean, it seems like a stupid idea because it is.
Is there a good argument for not beheading Jeff Bezos?
He's skinny and probably won't feed many people.
Okay, fine, we won't. That, and I mean, he probably has, like, security and stuff. That it would probably be difficult to do. Not the first rich person to eat. The first rich person to redistribute their wealth. He would literally, he could, out of his own earnings, double the pay of every Amazon warehouse employee, change everyone's lives. Wouldn't impact him or his kids or his grandkids ever in their lives. And I think about that and it makes me angry sometimes.
I suppose at some point it's just a high score.
Oh God. Just,
I mean, there was I think Middle Eastern billionaire person who fucking sued Forbes, accusing Forbes of understating their wealth in the world's richest people list. And he thought that was such a grievous insult to his honor and his dick size that he was demanding billions of dollars in damages from Forbes, damage his reputation and his ego and blah, 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 blah.
That's a way to become a billionaire. Sue someone for not calling you a billionaire enough.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Just it's we are never going to get rid of bad ideas from bad companies, but we can just not buy the new Amazon devices.
I hope so. Yeah. Suppose at some point money stops being a thing that you use to buy things with, and it becomes a number that represents power and influence over major parts of the world.
Yeah, at what number of billions of dollars can you never burn? It's here are the billions that I'll burn through. Here are the things I can physically. One person, one family could use this. What are the he's going to be worth $1 trillion by sometime next year. How much of that is just never that's the economy of a country.
Yeah.
That's what I don't even understand that.
I mean, $1 trillion is not money that you spend. It's money that represents how big your dick is and how big your power is over the way that people around the world buy shit.
And not to turn this into an episode of BreadTube, which I totally am right now, but you don't get that rich without a lot of exploitation, and a lot of getting rich off of the labor that off of the goods and labor that other people have produced the value for. So take back the means of production, comrades. Anyways, on that note, because I went political for a second, and I said I probably wasn't going to for once. Hey, we got through a whole episode without talking about Trump too much, and that well, I think we've tapped dry the well on Ben Shapiro's.
I am so glad that the days of him living rent-free in my head are mostly behind me.
It's now he does something dumb, and it's just you can't hurt me. It's like he's like an abusive ex who he's behind bars, or he's just far enough away that he can't fuck up your life anymore. It's he can't hurt you. He can't hurt you. It's nice. That's nice.
If only you were always that irrelevant.
It's one thing that's kind of not he wants. This is fascinating to me. He wants Section 230 repealed. And what's fucked up is that Biden wants it repealed too, and I don't understand why. We know why Trump wants it repealed. He just wants people who say mean things about him on Twitter to be able to be banned. Mm-hmm. Thing is, if Section 230 was repealed, the first person who Twitter would fucking ban is Trump, because he's just a walking liability for them. But I'm pretty sure that Twitter, as soon as he's no longer president, because they kind of have to keep him on there as I mean, they don't have to,
Well, yeah,
obviously.
the instant that he stops being president, they're gonna dump him.
Oh yeah, like there's no good reason for them to keep like as POTUS, yes, but real Donald Trump, why does he have to keep an account? There's no good reason for that. He is no longer a relevant person in American life. I mean, he's just a suspected criminal at that point. I can't wait. That's gonna be fun. That'll be better.
A little more than suspicion.
Yeah, I mean, he is unindicted co-conspirator. What was it? Co-conspirator number 2. It's
Yeah.
It's been there have been so
individual number 1.
Individual number 1, unnamed co-conspirator. God, there's just been so many things this administration, like it's been a decade worth of things in like far too little amount of time. And I'm ready for Sleepy Joe because I want some sleep. I definitely
want. It would be nice for politics to be boring and for the people in charge to at least try to appear competent and at least create the appearance of caring for others.
I tweeted last week that I'm like, I'm really looking forward to not for, and I this got misinterpreted. I'm like, I'm really by just a few people, to be clear though, but like I tweeted, I'm like, I'm really looking forward to not giving a fuck what Joe Biden's up to for like a week. And what I mean is just, he's going to be doing just the job of presidenting. And he's not going to do something that panics me or makes me think I have to wake up at 3 a.m. to see what he's up to at 6 a.m. because by then he'll already put an executive order down that's made an entire religious group unable to enter the U.S. Like, what I mean is he's going to president in a way that I don't have to check in on what's like. It's the news isn't going to terrify us every 5 minutes. We don't have to worry about him because he's still a centrist, and I'm still going to yell about that a little. But like, I think people heard I want to sleep for a week and heard I'm going to sleep for the next 4 years. No, I want a week. Just a week.
Just a week off from having to stare at the dumpster fire because there's enough dumpster fires going on right now.
I just want a week where Biden's like, everyone's got to stay home and put on their masks, and then he's like, I'm gonna go take care of the pandemic now. I'll be back, and then I don't think
he asked Anthony Fauci to be his chief medical person, and Fauci accepted on the spot.
I'm so happy about that, and it's. Did you hear that Fauci has to be protected by federal agents? 24 hours a day because he's getting threats to be the head by Trump's former chief strategist and campaign manager. Like, that's what we forget sometimes about Steve Hemorrhoid Face. I call him Hemorrhoid Face, but Steve Bannon was the campaign manager and chief strategist for the president, and he said that one of the most respected doctors in the country should be beheaded. That's a thing that just was allowed to happen. Trump never made a comment. I mean, that was in the middle of their let's make Fauci look bad. Okay, I've ranted enough about how mad I am about all of this, and the yawning is not. It's continuing to. Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Would I be able to talk you into doing a quick card trick before we?
Yeah, sure. If people want to see a card trick, I'd be happy to.
I'm a people, and I would like to see a card trick. Would you guys like to see? If you remember, Z is also a really wonderful magician, and his card tricks make me very, very happy. So we're gonna spotlight him and put me down here.
Let's hang on. Let me get this camera. Glowing keyboard, every gamer gamer guy accessory. Okay. My space ends here and here. Okay. So here's a bit of a thing. 1, 2, 3, 4 aces. 3, 6, 9, 12 other cards.
Okay.
4 aces, 12 non-aces, 16 cards total. I'm going to take the aces and set them down. And I'm going to put 3 cards on top of each ace. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, let's do these face down. 1, 2, 3. Trying to make them neat for the camera. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Someone just observed that you're wearing pants.
12. I am wearing pants.
You did real world things today.
I'm going to take the ace, follow the ace, flip it upside down, and watch.
You son of a bitch.
That is 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. If we take this ace, if we take it and we flip it over and we sandwich them right there. If I do that, that happens. 1, 2, 3, 4. This third ace, it's just gonna go. And over here, that one, that one, that one, and that one.
I'll be proxy for the audience laughing back here. Oh my God. That was, I get it that it's all sleight of hand and card forces but Jesus Christ, it's still so fucking cool every time. Like I'm an adult with a master's degree and I'm still like, show me a card trick. Like, and every single time I'm like, this is sorcery. So
that's one of the things I really loved about Magic. You know, I'm a huge like academic nerd and I've always wanted to know how things worked. And magic tricks were something that made me so mad because I was like offended at the idea that reality could be so bent. And what's appealing is that, you know, it is just trickery, but it's trickery that exposes the ways that we don't know that we can be tricked.
Yeah.
It really kind of teaches you to be careful what you believe, and it is quite delightful to just have that experience of what the fuck is happening in the world.
It's people. You have like you have an army of new fans out of my fans now. They're like Russell said, I know your history and I would still follow you into a compound. Debbie says you have a lot of nieces and nephews that you drive crazy with that stuff. Yeah. Anyways, we're gonna wrap up nowish. Did you join me for a screen lick last time?
Yes, I did.
Would you like to? This is a tradition. Would you like to join me for another one now?
Absolutely.
All right, and on 3. 1, 2, 3. Good time. They would never forgive me if I hadn't after this one. After going into my chromosomes, you'd think that they would forgive me for no screen licks. Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out today. There have been a zillion requests throughout the comments for you to come back on, so obviously we're going to have you back on again. It's where can people find more of you around the internet before we go?
You can find me on Facebook, Ztang Wang. I keep most of my posts there. Various slice of life stuff, but also science writing. So if you're interested in learning about antibodies and diseases and weird genetic stuff, just go to my Facebook and do a search for Science Time, because that is my tag for my science-related posts on Facebook. I'm also on YouTube, Epistatic Magic, EPI Static Magic, for my card trick stuff. And Metastasis 404 for my VR video game stuff, which bit of a competitive VR gamer.
my nerds are all down for this. So this is we're speaking the language. Anyways, thank you so much for coming on and well, first of all, thank you for helping me figure out my chromosomes. This has been a wild ride, and I appreciate that you were there for the ups, the downs,
Thank you for delivering me one of probably the weirdest questions that I've ever had to dig into genetic data to figure out.
I feel so glad I could give you this nugget of something exciting in the midst of the pandemic, and I'm really grateful that you helped me, like, so much.
I'm grateful to help you too. I'm glad that I could settle this for you and give you some peace of mind. And
it was, like, after I would have just sat there keeping myself up every night until I got a karyotype test. Like, that's how bad it would have been. So anyways, I'm eternally grateful. I adore you. You go have a wonderful night, you guys. As usual, I just want to my quick call to action, you guys. If you haven't signed up for it yet, sign up for my Patreon. Help keep a science communicator off the street with just $1 a month. Or if you want to make a one-time donation, there's my PayPal. Or again, all in the video description. There's of course a link to my Amazon wish list if you just want to send me candy. Because you can send me candy. Sending me candy is a great way to spend your money. Trust me. Like these were all sent to me by people. You can send me candy. Fattening me up is great. Anyways, go check out Z's stuff. Go join my Patreon. Go enjoy your Friday night. Get high. It's a Friday night. You should be doing that. I love you guys. I will see you next time. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.